For decades, the leadership of Jehovah's Witnesses has been warning about the dangers of higher education. If you know anything about the organization or spent any time in it, you have heard them yap about this. You have read articles about how universities are a spiritual battleground. Worldly philosophies are going to be implanted inside your brain, and all of the wonderful indoctrination you received as a Jehovah's Witness is going to be slowly eroded away. And yet, something very peculiar happened recently in Canada. Congregations across that country were instructed, well, I say instructed, they were invited or encouraged to, but we all know exactly what that means. But they were encouraged to take part in a very detailed academic study that would cover a whole range of topics, including what they thought about their beliefs, their day-to-day lives, and even down to the nitty-gritty of their personal medical decisions. But here's the odd part. This was organized not by Watchtower, but by a British university. Yes, an evil satanic-led institution of higher education is the one conducting the survey, which begs the question, why would Watchtower, who quite literally has demonized higher education for its teachings of sociology, evolution, science, some parts of history, archaeology, why would they cooperate in this survey?
Could it be education?
A lot to unpack here, so let's do this. For years, I have been saying that there needs to be a shift in the public perception of the Jehovah's Witness organization. It is the best way to enact change with them. If you try and go and have a conversation with them and talk to them about their policies, they're just going to shut the door. They won't even pick up the phone. But if people speak out and expose them for not just being happy, clappy people that pay their taxes and stand on street corners with carts and sometimes annoy you on a weekend, but actually see them for the dangerous, harmful, life-threatening practices that they have, the Watchtower will be forced to address some of these things. And that's exactly what's happening. On YouTube, on Twitter, on Reddit, anywhere, on TikTok, there's probably EXJW OnlyFans by now. The point is, they are being exposed to such a wide audience now that they are getting called to task for some of these practices. And so I believe that this survey is trying to have something to point to. If they are hauled to in front of a government and saying, okay, you guys have this shunning policy, well, what's the deal with that? I think they want something to point to say, hey, look, we actually did the scientific survey and look at the results that we have. Jehovah's Witnesses are actually quite happy with their time when they were being shunned, because in this survey, there's questions like this.
We interrupt this program for an important news announcement.
Tropical Storm Lynn has been upgraded to Hurricane Lindsay and is expected to make landfall within the hour. Residents are being told to evacuate the area immediately. We do have a reporter on the ground who is updating us on the situation. Gary, over to you.
Oh, we got ourselves a real situation, Steve. You can't sleep with my wife Sharon, but Lindsay, her you can. Oh my God. The winds are blowing, the storm surges are a surging. I don't know how much longer we're gonna be out here, Steve.
Gary, the situation looks like it might be getting out of control. Do you have an evacuation plan?
Oh yeah, we're gonna pack right on up here because it is getting way too crazy out here. Whoa. Oh!
Gary? Gary, are you still with us?
Tell my wife Sharon something for me.
Well, okay, what do you want me to tell Shannon?
Oh, my sciatica. Tell her to make sure she subscribes to the JW Thoughts channel. And while she's there, don't forget to drop a like on the video.
Shannon, if you're watching this, don't forget to hit that like button, and when you're there, subscribe to the JW Thoughts channel. It was Gary's last wish. Well, after that brief mental collapse, let's get back to the questions from this survey. Now we would like to find out more about situations when someone may have stopped active participation with the congregation and later returned to active association with Jehovah's Witnesses. We would be grateful if you could answer honestly. Since your baptism, have you stopped active participation with the congregation because of inactivity or removal or disassociation from the congregation? About how long were you away from the congregation? If you left and returned more than once, reply according to the most recent time. Some people's actions or attitudes towards Jehovah's Witnesses may change when not part of the congregation. How far are the following true of your experience? I stopped praying. I stopped reading the Bible. I still believe in Jehovah's Witnesses' main teachings. I felt it was not good enough to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I wanted to experience a different way of life. I stayed away because of my personal conduct. I had friends with negative views of Jehovah's Witnesses. Curious. I joined online groups that criticized Jehovah's Witnesses. I started distancing myself from those in the congregation before I left. I continued attending meetings at the Kingdom Hall, although I was less active in the congregation. I joined another religion for a time. I attended another worship for a time without joining. I explored other spiritual practices for a time without following any particular religion. While away from the congregation, did your relationships become closer, more distant, or stay the same with the following people? People in the congregation, people you worked with or studied with, friends who were Jehovah's Witnesses, friends who were not Jehovah's Witnesses, family members who were not witnesses, family members who were witnesses. And think of the time you were not part of the congregation. How did congregants interact with you in the following ways? They acknowledged me with a nonverbal gesture, such as a brief nod, brief eye contact, or holding the door for me. They avoided making eye contact. They did not include me in conversations. They spoke with me briefly. Their facial expressions were warm. Their facial expressions were neutral. Their facial expressions were critical. Now, thinking about the motivations to return, how important were the following as motivations for you to resume association with Jehovah's Witnesses? I wanted a closer relationship with God. I missed association with family. I missed association with friends in the congregation. I decided the witnesses' life was a better way. Witnesses who were family members encouraged me to return. Witnesses outside my family encouraged me to return. Congregation elders encouraged me. I needed support from the community at that point in my life. I felt happier when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I realized the seriousness of my actions and wanted to change. So you can see the tactic that they might be trying to use. If they are called to account for their practices with regard to shunning, they can point to the scientific research that says, hey, look at all of these believing Jehovah's Witnesses that we surveyed that all said, it really wasn't that bad. People were actually pretty friendly when I was removed. And I returned to Jehovah not because I missed my family and friends, but because I was happier. I knew it was the true religion. Immediately upon looking through this survey, you can see that there are a lot of problems with it. So by only giving this survey to people that are current believing Jehovah's Witnesses, still running the race for life on the hamster wheel, fully indoctrinated into believing everything that the governing body says, you're going to get a very specific picture painted for you. It's not scientific data being collected that can be used to assess the situation and try and draw conclusions from that. You are looking to paint a specific picture. If you are trying to talk about the problem of systemic racism in America or institutional racism in America, should you go and ask a bunch of white guys from Wisconsin and California and just say, I don't think racism's that bad. Not really a problem. I don't ever experience any racism in my life. It's all good. In fact, I experienced some racism on my own. It's harder for me to get into college. Is that going to give you a realistic, honest picture if you're going to use that as scientific data? It's not. So this doesn't have the DNA. It doesn't have the building blocks of actual scientific research, in my eyes. It has the building blocks of a elaborate deception. And historically, Watchtower are the masters of elaborate deceptions because they are a walking double standard with almost everything that they do. But let's just zoom in and look at this situation. Why is this such a big double standard? If you are a young kid, a teenager thinking about your future, what am I going to be? What am I going to do? How am I going to live? And you think, maybe college would be a good idea. Historically, throughout Watchtower's history, you would be overwhelmed with people telling you that it's the worst decision you could possibly make. You would have your parents, you would have anyone that could have a controlling influence of your life. Parents, friends, elders, circuit overseers. They will call in the cavalry to try and get you or dissuade you from pursuing higher education.
If we should be that careful about our association inside the congregation, the application is even more appropriate when it comes to institutions of secular learning. I have long said, the better the university, the greater the danger. The most intelligent and eloquent professors will be trying to reshape the thinking of your child, and their influence can be tremendous. One mom, I recall, asked me to try and help her son, who was attending a prestigious name university in Rhode Island. After visiting him, I later had to inform her that her son now believed in evolution. She refused to believe it until he finally told her himself. How sad.
Brothers, we are obligated to put the interests of the congregation first.
Brothers, with all due respect, I don't agree with you that the congregation is disturbed about my or my family's situation. I've been in the congregation for 20 years. I know the publishers very well, and I'm sure no one is disturbed about my daughter's pursuing higher education.
Brown has served faithfully for many years. But the question that's within paragraph number 30 is important. How is he viewed by the congregation? Sad to say, the actions of his family have caused him to lose the respect of the congregation. In fact, some publishers have mentioned that if they need scriptural advice on family life, they'll just talk to another elder.
Thank you for those comments, Brother Williams. Brother Anderson, please.
The same paragraph says, if an appointed brother's children pursue higher education, does his life pattern show that he puts kingdom interests first in his life? I don't think any of us can honestly say that Brother Brown's family is viewed as putting kingdom interests first in their life.
That is a cause for concern. Brother Miller, please.
I agree with those comments. And in addition, the last question in paragraph 30 asks, does the pursuit of higher education interfere with regular meeting attendance, meaningful participation in field service, or other theocratic activities? His girls are not visible in the ministry, and because of their class schedule, they rarely are at meetings. It's obvious that spiritual things have become second place in their life.
So let me ask you, do you think that the elder body is accountable to Jehovah to uphold his high standards for appointed men? And isn't that what you would encourage them to do?
Yes.
That's why when we weighed all of the facts and the scriptural qualifications, as well as considering the direction from Jehovah's organization, the body of elders and I decided that you no longer meet the qualifications for an appointed man.
I understand what you're saying, but I do not agree with this decision.
Personally, I am so thankful to Jehovah that positive peer pressure was put on me to enter the pioneer ministry right out of high school. What a blessing and a protection it was to enter the regular pioneer work at age 17 and to be able to go to Bethel at 18. Even though there was considerable worldly pressure put on me to pursue university education, I am so happy that with Jehovah's help, I decided to build my future with Jehovah.
So with all of this rhetoric about higher education, how can you then say, we want you guys to participate in this study, in this survey? What? I thought you said that the higher education, those institutions of learning, were evil. They are either evil, controlled by Satan, can't be trusted, you need to not even look at those facts, just only listen to what we give you on jw.org, or they're not. You can't have it both ways. Either they are evil or they are not. You can't say they're evil, but in this instance, when it might benefit us, when we stand to gain something from it, now we can trust them. And actually, we're not only going to just let them do their study and carry it out however they want, we are going to send emails out encouraging, we all know what that's a euphemism for, telling current believing Jehovah's Witnesses to participate in this survey. So that way they get a maximum of data that looks favorable for the organization. So with all of this, I think we don't even have to put on the old tinfoil hat to ask a very important question. If this doesn't have the DNA of serious academic research, and if it would appear that this is going to benefit Watchtower, and Watchtowers willingly participating in it, I think we have to ask a more important question. Who's the one that's actually designed this survey in the first place? So the person listed as a contact for this survey is Shaban McAndrews, and I did a little bit of sleuthing online, and I did find something curious on Cambridge.org. During the 2024-2025 Expert on Law and Religions, Silvio Ferrari and sociologist of religion Shaban McAndrew are leading a pioneering cross-cultural socio-legal study of Jehovah's Witnesses in 6 countries. The JW MAP project seeks to compare Jehovah's Witnesses' religious motivations, attitudes, and practices with public perceptions in the context of the political and legal situation of the witnesses in each country. Now, you normal, sane person watching this video, probably like, cool, couple of people doing a survey. But when I heard the name Silvio Ferrari, I about stood up in my chair.
Oh, I knew it! I knew it!
Because I've seen this name come up quite a few times, and he is very closely related to my favorite group on planet Earth, the old cult apologist group known as Cesnur. So for those of you that don't actually know what Cesnur is, I'll just give a quick little rundown here. Cesnur was started in the late 80s, 1988, by Massimo Entrevine, and I think Cesnur stands for something close, I can't remember exactly, but it's like the Center for Studies on New Religious Movements. Their new religious movements is what they basically call cults. Just a fancy little term. But what they do is they get panels of scholarly experts together to try and defend people with harmful religious practices, and they'll do this legally by writing these scholastic articles, if you will, but they're always in favor of the high control group that they're defending, and they try and downplay any of the negative effects that those high control groups have. So they have defended people like Jehovah's Witnesses, they've defended Scientologists, and others like them. And if you want to know just how closely related that Cesnur is with the Jehovah's Witness organization, well, you can find the founder of it on jw.org.
Now, if they just take the time to check the facts, they'd see that they're being lied to, but they don't check.
I had a very good cooperation with Russia, who is a very active member of the OSCE and did a lot on behalf, particularly of persecuted Christians throughout the world. So it seems to me somewhat paradoxical that now there are problems of religious liberty inside Russia. I understand that the law used against Jehovah's Witnesses is a law against extremism, and it's perfectly understandable that Russia, for its geopolitical location and its struggle against terrorism, is concerned about extremism. However, religious liberty is something fragile, and definitions of extremism may easily be used against groups who are somewhat unpopular.
So I think it's pretty obvious to anyone looking at the situation that these guys aren't unbiased. They don't just go out there out of the kindness of their own heart because they believe in the Jehovah's Witness doctrine. They get paid for this. They are paid advocates for cults, and they will write fake scholarly articles to try and defend them. They downplay any negatives and updo all of the positives of groups like so Scientologists and Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, in order to tie together all of our tinfoil hatting, let's read the very beginning of this survey that's being conducted in Canada, and hopefully you'll kind of see what I'm on about. Dear respondent, we would like to invite you to take part in an important survey of the beliefs and practices of Jehovah's Witnesses around the world, your lives as worshipers and citizens, and the quality of life that you experience. The survey has been designed by a panel of international experts in religion in consultation with experts from the Office of Public Information at the World Headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses. We would like to find out what members of the Jehovah's Witness community worldwide find important in their spiritual lives, as well as how you feel about major moral and social questions. We would like to learn about the experiences of Jehovah's Witnesses in different countries and how witnesses throughout the world manage their everyday lives. This is to help us better understand the needs and priorities of the Jehovah's Witness community across the world. So the survey has been designed by a panel of international experts. That sounds vaguely familiar. Who peacocks around acting like a group of international experts and scholars on religions? Cesnur. And it was made in consultation with who? None other than the Public Information Department of Jehovah's Witnesses. So, a group of international experts? I don't know for sure, but I think it's a pretty damn good guess. That's Cesnur. And the Public Information Department of Jehovah's Witnesses. They were the ones that designed the study, according to what the University of Sheffield says on the opening page of this. Again, I don't think it takes too many tinfoil butt plugs to really draw this connection to who actually made this study. So if that wasn't evidence enough, then we can also look at that JW map project that I mentioned earlier, because the contact for this survey was Siobhan McAndrew, and she was working with this guy for the JW map project, Silvio Ferrari. And Silvio Ferrari is part of this pathetically misguided gaggle of cult bootlickers that is associated with Cesnur.
My name is Silvio Ferrari, a legal expert, and coordinate a project entitled Atlas of Religious Minority Rights in the European Union countries. I shall speak a little bit about the Atlas project, and in the second part of my intervention, I shall focus more directly on Jehovah's Witnesses.
He has written articles for them. He has written articles specifically defending the Jehovah's Witnesses. His connections to Cesnur are not just for other cults, but they're specific to the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, he is a real person. He is a scholarly individual. I don't think that can be argued. And he does do serious academic research. But that is where they try and blur the lines. You have someone that is a serious academic, but then they're involved in a group like this or participating in a survey like this, and it becomes an elaborate deception. Because when you have someone that is a serious scholar, but hey, maybe you want to just not be so much of a serious scholar in this one particular instance, the reasons being, I don't know, I don't live inside of his nutsack, I don't know what's going on inside of his brain, but I would imagine it would be for financial reasons. Whether or not that's true, I guess you'll just have to leave that up to you for you to decide. But anyway, I look at this and I say, this is a great way of trying to trick people, getting people that the world does take seriously for their academic research and getting them involved in basically manufacturing some propaganda to make it look like the Jehovah's Witnesses aren't so bad. So if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you happen to stumble across this video, you might just want to ask yourself about now, why the elaborate deception? Why is the organization that I support, that I think is going to lead me into the paradise earth, that's going to teach me the one true way to worship God, why do they have to hide behind these double standards? Why do they have to hide behind these fake surveys? Why are they asking me to participate in a survey that's going to make the organization look good because of giving biased feedback and biased information and biased results. And they're using an institution that they'll turn around and say is satanic and demonic and I shouldn't get involved with myself. I can't go and attend the University of Sheffield without being berated by the elders and circuit overseers and being told that I'm going to have a corrupting influence of the demons enter my brain. But the organization can go to them and devise this study in order to try and trick governments or anyone asking questions about this organization. Those aren't just light questions to ask yourself. These are pretty dang serious. And hopefully through this video, you might just ask yourself some of those things. Otherwise, all of you out there on the internet land, stay safe, be kind, and don't forget to spend more time loving the things you love than hating the things you hate. And you better have a good ass day.